Simon Cowell had always prided himself on discovering raw talent, the kind that could stop people in their tracks and leave them gasping for more. His reputation had been built on decades of shows like American Idol, Britain's Got Talent, and The X Factor, but by 2025, he was ready to take things to a whole new level. The entertainment world was buzzing with rumors about his latest venture, The Next Act 2025. It wasn't just another talent competition. Simon promised something bigger, something revolutionary. Contestants wouldn't just be judged on their abilities, they would be tested on creativity, originality, and their potential to change the industry. The auditions kicked off in Los Angeles, and the excitement was palpable. Simon, dressed in his signature dark suit, sunglasses perched casually on his face, surveyed the sea of hopefuls with his trademark intensity. The first contestant was a teenage guitarist named Maya, whose fingers danced across the strings as if they had a life of their own. Simon's brow furrowed as he listened, his critical gaze sweeping over her posture, technique, and stage presence. He leaned back, steepled his fingers, and let out a contemplative hum. "Interesting," he murmured, scribbling notes on his clipboard. "There's potential here, but are you willing to push boundaries?" Next came Malik, a 22-year-old beatboxer from New York. The moment he opened his mouth, the room erupted with complex rhythms that mimicked an entire percussion section. Simon's expression softened slightly, he was impressed. "You've got skill," he said. "But can you do more than just wow us with technique? Can you tell a story with your performance?" Malik nodded, determination flashing in his eyes, and Simon made a rare smile before scribbling another note. The auditions were brutal, as expected. Simon had never been one to sugarcoat his opinions. Contestants who relied solely on talent without innovation quickly found themselves on the receiving end of his infamous critique. "It's good," he'd say, "but good isn't enough anymore. You have to be unforgettable." Some would leave in tears, their dreams deferred, while others would rise from the stage with fire in their eyes, eager to prove themselves in the next round. By the time the show moved to Las Vegas for the second wave of auditions, Simon had already identified a few standout acts. There was Elena, a singer with a voice so pure it made grown men weep, Jax, a magician whose illusions blurred the line between reality and fantasy, and twins Leo and Leah, dancers whose synchronized movements seemed to defy gravity. Each had something special, something that made Simon sit up in his chair and pay attention. Backstage, the tension was almost tangible. Contestants whispered to one another, sharing nerves and tips, while the production crew hustled to keep everything running smoothly. Simon, meanwhile, wandered among them, observing, questioning, probing. He didn't just want talent, he wanted visionaries, people who could inspire and lead. He paused in front of a young woman practicing juggling knives. "Dangerous," he said, his voice calm but pointed. "But it's all about execution. Can you control it, or will it control you?" She met his gaze without flinching, and Simon allowed a small nod of approval before moving on. The first live show aired to millions of viewers across the country. The set was stunning, a combination of sleek modern design and high-tech visuals that made every performance feel larger than life. Simon sat front and center, joined by a panel of guest judges, industry legends, choreographers, producers, whose opinions mattered almost as much as his own. As each contestant took the stage, Simon's eyes followed every movement, every note, every gesture. He was exacting in his judgment but never cruel without reason. One of the most memorable performances of the season came from a 17-year-old violinist named Kira. She didn't just play, she told a story, a narrative so vivid that the audience was transported to another world. Simon leaned forward in his chair, captivated. When the final note hung in the air, the auditorium was silent for a moment before erupting into applause. Simon's critique was simple, yet profound: "You're not just talented, you're a storyteller. That's what sets you apart." Kira smiled, tears brimming in her eyes, knowing she had just taken a giant step toward her dreams. Drama, of course, was never far behind. Rivalries emerged as contestants vied for the coveted golden tickets that would carry them through the competition. One particularly heated exchange occurred between Malik, the beatboxer, and Jax, the magician. Both had extraordinary talent, but each believed their craft was more innovative. Backstage, their argument drew the attention of producers, and Simon was summoned to mediate. "Competition is healthy," he said, his tone firm. "But remember, it's not about being better than each other, it's about being the best version of yourself." His words resonated, diffusing the tension, but the fire between the two contestants never fully died. Throughout the season, Simon pushed contestants beyond their comfort zones. He assigned challenges that tested their adaptability and creativity, from collaborative performances with other contestants to reimagining classic songs in entirely new genres. Some floundered under the pressure, while others thrived, discovering strengths they didn't know they had. Simon's feedback was precise, often harsh, but never devoid of insight. He could cut through pretense and expose the essence of a performer, the raw core that determined whether they were destined for greatness or not. The semifinals were a turning point. Contestants had formed bonds, rivalries had deepened, and viewers were emotionally invested. Simon had carefully curated the acts that would advance, balancing public votes with his own professional judgment. The tension backstage was electric as each performer awaited their fate. When the names of those advancing were announced, cheers and tears mingled in a wave of relief and disappointment. Simon watched quietly, noting every reaction. He knew the road ahead would demand even more resilience, creativity, and courage. In the finals, the stakes were higher than ever. The remaining contestants had become stars in their own right, each bringing something unique to the stage. Maya's guitar solos had evolved into intricate compositions that fused classical, rock, and electronic elements. Malik had incorporated live looping and storytelling into his beatboxing, creating immersive audio landscapes. Kira's violin performances had grown even more emotive, combining technical mastery with theatrical flair. Simon sat in the audience, his expression inscrutable, carefully weighing each act's potential to not only win but to influence the future of entertainment. The finale was a spectacle. The set was transformed into a dazzling display of lights, visuals, and stagecraft. Contestants performed one last time, pulling out every trick, every note, every ounce of emotion they had left. The crowd erupted repeatedly, but Simon remained the ultimate arbiter. When the final applause faded, he stood, his voice commanding the room. "Each of you has been extraordinary," he said. "But there can only be one winner of the next act 2025. Someone who doesn't just have talent, but vision, originality, and the power to inspire millions." After a tense pause, he announced the winner, Kira, the violinist. The crowd roared as she wept on stage, overwhelmed by the culmination of months of hard work, growth, and perseverance. Simon walked up to her, his hand outstretched. "You've got something no one else does," he said simply. "Use it wisely. Change the world." The camera panned across the audience, capturing the faces of fellow contestants, mentors, and viewers at home, all united in awe of what they had just witnessed. The show didn't end there. In the weeks that followed, Kira's performances went viral, her story inspiring countless aspiring musicians. Simon's vision for the next act 2025 had succeeded in creating not just a winner, but a movement. The contestants who hadn't won found opportunities in their own right, collaborations, tours, and viral performances that showcased their unique talents. Simon's reputation as a talent scout was only enhanced. He had once again proven his uncanny ability to identify not just skill, but potential. Looking back, Simon reflected on the journey with a sense of pride and anticipation. He knew that talent competitions were evolving, and the next generation demanded more than just entertainment, they craved authenticity, creativity, and originality. The next act 2025 had set a new benchmark, not just for television, but for the industry as a whole. Simon smiled, already thinking about what might come next, because for him, the pursuit of excellence was never-ending. There would always be another voice to discover, another act to elevate, another story to tell. By the end of the season, it was clear that the next act 2025 had done more than crown a winner. It had reminded the world why Simon Cowell remained at the forefront of talent discovery. It wasn't just about finding someone who could sing or dance, it was about uncovering the spark that could ignite the hearts of millions. And in 2025, Simon had done just that.